What is up, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel HAIRLICIOUSLY. Today I have another interesting topic that I wanted to address, and I feel that a lot of you guys might be finding this beneficial. So it's going to take some risk and it's going to take some balls to do it, but I wanted my subscribers and viewers to know that there are options out there if you want to test new waters. So I want to explain to you guys how you can actually sign up for clinical trials for hair loss treatments in the pipelines all across the world. So before I dive into this topic, let's address some basics about interventional clinical trials and how they operate. Not a lot of people know about these, but clinical trials are basically research studies performed in people that are aimed at evaluating medical intervention. In our case, it's going to be aimed towards the treatment of male pattern baldness or androgenetic alopecia. We know that clinical trials are the primary way that scientists find out if a new treatment, like a new drug or a new medical device, is safe and if it's going to be effective in people. Clinical trials are used to learn if new treatments are going to be more effective than current available treatments and if they have less of the side effects than standard treatment. So for example, in the US, before clinical trials are started, FDA is going to require that scientists perform different types of lab tests and studies in animals to test the potential therapies, safety, and efficacy. For hair loss, one of the most common animals, as you guys know, are going to be mice and rats. And if these tests do show favorable results, FDA is ultimately going to give the approval for the intervention to be tested on human beings. Now, FDA in the US has typically 3 different phases to be conducted to determine if a certain drug is going to be approved for use. So we have phase 1, which involves testing and experimental treatment on a small group of people to look at its safety profile and the side effects to go ahead and find out the correct dosage to see if it's going to work. We move on to phase 2, which is going to be on more people, somewhere between 100 to 300, and it's going to be tested for the effectiveness. This phase is used to obtain preliminary information to see if the drug works on people who have a certain disease or condition, and these trials continue to study safety, including short-term side effects. Phase 2 oftentimes take a long time. Usually it takes a few years. And then once that goes through, we can move on to phase 3. So phase 3 trials gather more information on safety and the effectiveness of a certain drug or medical device. They study different types of populations and different dosages using the drug in combination with other drugs. Phase 3 can range anywhere from several hundred people to over several thousand. And if FDA finally approves phase 3 trial results, it is ultimately going to approve the experimental drug for marketing. Now, we also do have phase 4 trials, which occur when a certain drug is approved by the FDA, and the drug's effectiveness and safety profile are going to be monitored in large populations. And this is because some drugs have side effects that may not be noticeable until people have taken it for a longer period of time. So if you guys are so interested, there are obviously going to be some pros and cons for signing up for clinical trials for hair loss treatment. This is where they all start. This is where they come up with the results. So some of the pros include possibly having access to a new and potentially more effective or safer hair loss treatment than what is currently available, or also with fewer side effects. And some clinical trials do offer compensation or stipends for your time and for your efforts. You can also get to provide pharmaceutical companies obtain the data that they need in order to obtain approval for the drug in question. So you're part of a larger plan. You may see a lot of patients suffering from terminal cancer or certain types of diseases where they're not going to be able to treat it, where they participate in clinical trials since they have no other means of treatment to help cure their condition, and they look for possible alternative clinical trials to see if it's actually going to help with their condition. But sometimes it might be used as a last resort. Now, some of the cons of participating in hair loss treatment clinical trials include, I think the number one is the fact that the fear of the unknown. You have no idea what might happen to you. You don't know what the drugs might do. For example, stem cell research to regrow hair does have the potential to grow into cancer cells, so you're obviously going to be putting yourself at risk. Another con is that most trials, not everybody's going to be getting the active drug on their evaluation, and you might just end up with a placebo, so you're not going to be getting any of the benefits if there are any. You obviously might suffer from unknown side effects or adverse reactions from the drug. And I think these are some of the reasons that I can think of for those who don't want to or do want to get involved in clinical trials. Now, there are many ways to find that information about the types of clinical trials that are being conducted at research facilities. One of the best sources that I found online is www.clinicaltrials.gov. And so let's go ahead and take a look at an example on the website And we'll see if we can find something pertaining to current hair loss treatments in the pipelines that are looking for volunteers or plan on having to look for volunteers. Now, one thing to note is that the site does not mean that all studies are regulated or reviewed by the FDA or other governmental entities. And whatever you do ultimately or don't do is your choice, and that's always going to be your choice. Remember to always consult with a doctor, prior to making any type of decision, and know that, like I said, it's ultimately going to be your decision. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to open up a new browser, and let's go ahead and type in www.clinicaltrials.gov and then press enter. And our goal is to look for any current treatments that are available for people who are interested in trying them out. So you want to keep it as all studies. Condition, let's go ahead and type in baldness. Baldness, hair loss. Country, will keep it open just because, there's a lot of people from various countries that are watching this video. So if you want to go to a specific country, you can go ahead and select that, but I'm just going to keep mine open. So let's go and search and see what we get. Okay, so we have 242 studies for baldness, hair loss, and they also search for alopecia, hair loss, baldness. The status here shows it's completed, so we want to go ahead and look for recruitment that aren't currently recruiting. And recruiting, scroll down a little bit, adult for the eligibility criteria. And for the sex, we'll just keep it all and apply. And let's see what we get. So we got 45 studies. Recruiting, not recruiting for baldness. You guys can go ahead and read the study title. It gives you a brief description of what it's going to be talking about. Status, recruiting, condition, hair loss, and also if you look at the location on the far right, it tells you exactly where it is. So it's a lot of the research facilities, universities, and hospitals that are recruiting people. And as you guys can see here, it's not only limited to the US. We have China, Turkey. So let's go and scroll down and see what we can find. Oh, look at this one here. A study evaluating the efficacy and safety of SM04554 topical solution in male subjects with androgenetic alopecia. If you guys remember, I did a video on this a few months ago. And this is by, if I recall, I think it's by Samomed. They do have a topical solution that they're working on. They're trying to manipulate the Wnt signaling pathway to cure hair loss. So let's go and see what it's about. Yeah, so sponsors Samomed LLC. It gives you a description. Multi-center randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study conducted in Turkey will assess the efficacy and safety of topical SM04554 solution 0.15% and 0.25% applied daily to the scalp for male androgenetic alopecia patients. So we have phase 2 and phase 3. And the study design, 625 participants. This is an interventional study, which is a clinical trial. It's randomized, and it started in November 1st, 2018. They're scheduled to complete in June 2020. Let's scroll down a little bit, and they give you a description. So 0.15% solution applied same time each day, and we also have different concentrations, 0.25, and then we have the placebo. Outcome, you guys can take a look here, primary outcome measures, secondary outcome measures. And if you scroll down, it should give you the eligibility criteria. So if you guys are between the ages of 18 to 45, and if you are a male, then you might be able to be eligible to participate. But here are some inclusion criteria. Being a Turkish citizen, clinical diagnosis of androgenetic alopecia with a Norwood-Hamilton classification of 3 vertex or 4, willing to inform females with whom they may interact. So you guys can go ahead and look at all of these to see what the inclusion criteria are. Obviously, there are going to be certain criteria that you guys would have to meet. Exclusion criteria, males who are sexually active and have a partner who is capable of being pregnant. So this might be because, there might be side effects and they don't really know exactly what it can cause. Clinical diagnosis of alopecia areata. So it has to be male pattern baldness. It can't be any other forms of, hair loss. Let's see here. Previous exposure. You can't do that. Okay, here's a big one. Use of any products. You cannot be using finasteride, minoxidil, or any other, devices or medications that are purportedly to promote scalp hair growth within 24 weeks. that's because it's going to mess up with the current study. And if you are using something in conjunction, we never know which one has more of a benefit. So that is something that you guys want to look out for. Anti-androgenic therapies, that's pretty common. Now, contacts and locations, you guys can contact this number here or send them an email if you guys are interested. This is the best point of contact to see if you guys would be somebody that they're looking for. Here are other locations in Turkey. It looks like they're recruiting in Turkey here. And there's some places where they're not recruiting, which they plan on recruiting. So you guys can take a look here. The investigators, here's all the information that you guys need. Studies a US FDA regulated drug product is yes. And let's see what we have. Sometimes you guys go to these different tabs up here. We'll show you some of the results. Let me see what this has here. So just more information, estimated primary completion date, current primary outcome, absolute non-vellus hair count in target area, time frame is at week 48. And you guys can scroll down, take a look. But pretty much this is the gist of looking for any possible upcoming or ongoing clinical trials that you guys might be interested in. And like I said, you guys can adjust it to different types of locations. You guys can look through, to see if there's anything that you guys might find interesting. Obviously, this is not for everybody, and there are risks and potential benefits that come with trying a clinical trial. But you guys can get an idea of what it is and see exactly what these studies are doing. So there's always ongoing studies for treating male pattern baldness. It's just that we haven't come up with a cure yet. So hopefully sooner than later, one of these companies will be able to finally regrow hair in men and women suffering from hair loss. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys have any questions, please make sure to leave some comments below. Like this video if you found it helpful, and stay tuned for more upcoming videos on hair loss treatments, hair transplants, and whatever you guys want me to talk about. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.